Yeah.
Looks right.
All right. That looks better. All right. Thank you, Riley, for working on that. I guess we're live again for the second time here. All right. Since we just went through the approval of the minutes from the January meeting, we will keep going with staff reports and start with the director's report. Jason?
So just a few highlights. The MOU that the Parks Commission approved last month has been reviewed by Grand Haven Parks and Rec Committee, and then will be going on to their city council for approval. So we will keep you posted of that. And then I included in the packet the consultant's possible scenarios and presentation for the economic resiliency plan that Port Sheldon Township has done. They actually have extended that agreement and will be taking the public feedback that was included and then consolidating that down into a hybrid plan. So that process is scheduled to run through June. So, but there's a lot of there was a lot of great ideas in the presentation as well as the public feedback and input. So. And happy to answer any questions on that, or if any other conversations. And then just of note, our Nick Smith has accepted our position for our Visitor and Business Services Coordinator, so he'll be starting with us next month. And then hopefully we'll be in attendance at the Parks Commission meeting next month. So
Great.
yeah.
Could I ask you, so point of clarification, so those three scenarios they had, minimum, moderate, and maximum, so I'm understanding they're going to update and consolidate and get to one before we hear from them again?
And we'll participate as stakeholders.
Okay.
They'll take the public feedback and input from the township's planning committee and board and try to refine it to one possible plan or possible scenario.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
We felt positive about all three plans had various components that were parks friendly. I think overwhelmingly, the public supported a lot of the area being protected or preserved. So kind of aligns with what we've been talking about. So.
Yeah, that was a lot of great information.
Hmm.
Took a while to get through, but it was good.
Yeah. Yes.
Good stuff. All right. Any other questions or comments on Jason's report? All right, we'll keep rolling then with the park operations report, Jason Berger. And then you can introduce Josh at the end if you don't mind.
I will. All right. Well, I have one correction in my report. I did list that we hired a park operations secretary, and the person who's listed in there actually rescinded her acceptance.
Oh, no.
So that person did not start on the 17th as was reported in here. But we did have another great candidate, thankfully. As a matter of fact, it was quite a debate between the interview team as to which one was our top candidate. So it was not hard when we had to move to the second choice, because for many of the people on the committee, it was actually their first choice. So we offered the position to Renee Hoffer. She accepted, and she starts March 10th. So we're moving forward. In addition, we were also doing a lot of other hiring over this past couple months, and Josh Marzov, who is the one who's going to be speaking here today, was hired as our first ever assistant park supervisor. Josh has been with us for quite a few years, for 12 years, I believe, as a seasonal employee. Might be one of our longest running seasonal employees, and accepted the position as the full-time assistant park supervisor. And we'll get to Josh here in a minute. The only other thing I wanted to highlight from my report, in case anybody had questions, was as many of you know, the Muscatawa Trail is closed for the next year. And I did include one picture in here. They are working on it quite quite a lot quicker than I expected. Actually, they've gotten quite a bit done as far as the deconstruction of the trail goes. They've not actually built anything yet, but they've been doing a really good job at tearing it up and getting it ready. So they've yeah, really got a lot done already, more than I expected to see done this winter. So pretty happy with
Any
that.
chance they might finish it ahead of schedule if they've made good progress already?
You know, I haven't had a chance to talk to the trails coordinator since they got started. I only talked to her before they got started. So I'm hoping that's the case.
Nice.
That, you know, we might see the trail back open this fall. You know, that'd be nice instead of waiting till next winter. But we'll see. They have a lot to do because not only are they repaving almost the entire thing, they're also every bridge is coming out and being replaced either with a bridge or a culvert. Some of the bridges are being replaced with culverts, and most of the culverts that haven't been replaced, which I think is only maybe 2 or 3, are all being replaced. The culverts that are in there were the culverts that were originally placed there for the railroad. So most of these culverts are pushing close to 200 years old, and it's interesting when we've pulled ones out that have failed. They are sheet steel that was bent into a circle and riveted.
Hmm.
It's not like a culvert you'd see today.
Wow.
So yeah, they were quite interesting historical artifacts when we pulled out the few that we did replace. But it'll be amazing when it's done because that trail has needed help for so long.
Mhm.
Any questions about other things before we move on to Josh? Well, like I said, Josh has he's been with us as a seasonal. He's been a very unique seasonal for us in that he works for us in the winter and worked for the state parks in the summer. So he would come here. He would do snow removal and work the Pigeon Creek Lodge every winter for the past 12 years. About was it a year and a half ago, Josh, when you about a year and a half ago we um, hired Josh from just being one of our seasonal caretakers to being a seasonal supervisor. And he was managing the Pigeon Creek Lodge during the winter operations along with the South supervisor. And then recently now hired as the assistant supervisor, still working over at the Pigeon Creek Lodge, which is what Josh is going to talk about today, which is our winter operations at Pigeon Creek. Josh.
Awesome. Good evening. As Jason has already introduced myself, my name is Josh Marzoff, and I'm the new assistant supervisor for Ottawa County Parks. I've been asked to give a kind of overview of myself and then an overview of Pigeon Creek Park. Parks are something I've always been interested in. I started my career in Kalamazoo County Parks, where while I was working on my bachelor's degree in environmental recreation with a minor in sociology. In 5 years, I went from park attendant to interim manager at Scotts Mill Park, which has a historical gristmill property. And in 2015, I was able to accomplish one of my bucket list items, which was becoming a park officer for the Department of Natural Resources. I originally started at Grand Haven, moved to PJ Hawkmaster State Park after my first season. And as most park officers, my average I usually worked only 8 months of the year. So during the winter, I would work for Ottawa County Parks. I've greatly enjoyed working here for the last 13 years. My roles have enabled me to lead people, do maintenance, and occasionally I would get blessed with the opportunity of help restore a historical cottage at Pine Bend Park, help restore a pump house at the Eastern Boardwalk, and also help construct a new pole barn at the Park Operations Center. Still, it's Pigeon Creek Lodge that has really piqued my interest. Pigeon is home to one of the most busiest winter recreational areas in Southwest Michigan, sponsoring 10 miles of groomed trail, 3 of them being lit at night. The sledding hill and snowshoe trails are remarkably busy. And Pigeon Lodge hosts crowds of people with their beautiful warming lodge, offering food and drink and the opportunities of conversation and company around its indoor and outdoor fireplaces. In 1992, Harold Bornhorst, which one of the trails is named after, bequeathed 80 acres of land covered with a mixture of hardwoods and pines to Ottawa County Parks. In 1996, the land became known as Pigeon Creek Park. During the summertime, Pigeon is known for its hiking trails, its beautiful equestrian area, and its challenging biking trails. However, it really shines during the winter season. In closing, I want to say I am privileged to utilize my 17 years of park experience to support the Ottawa County Parks along with its residents. I'm looking forward for the next phase of my career, and I want to also thank you for your time.
Great.
Great, thanks, Josh. Oh, stay up there, we might have questions. Yeah, you were sharing some really interesting anecdotes about rentals and how busy it's been this winter. Would you mind just sharing with the commission? I thought that was really interesting, how the demand has been, now that we actually have some snow the last few
Finally,
weeks.
we have some snow, so it's been very
Yeah.
interesting. Matter of fact, we exceeded budget this year, which is very fantastic. And a couple Saturdays ago, we pretty much sold out a certain amount of skis, but the public has been so patient with us and worked with us, and we've been working with them. We got them to go out in the hills and really enjoy it.
Great. Does anyone have questions or anything for Josh?
Only an observation that, I haven't been sledding in quite a while, but my son and his girlfriend and her little boy were visiting, a few weeks ago. So we went to the sledding hill, and what a gas. I mean, fun times, tons of cross-country skiers coming and going, really family friendly. And you guys are doing a great job keeping everybody fed, there's the concessions and keeping the fires going. It's just a really cool place to be in the winter.
I really like how the state has like a motto that we kind of use, and it's creating those lifelong memories. And that's what we're kind of doing right there.
Yeah.
Tell them about the new chili.
Oh, there's new chili. I haven't had any chili this year.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's actually a cactus chili. So it's a little bit sweet and spicy as a.
Oh,
The
nice.
public has greatly enjoyed that.
So if you could recommend a time to go, like if you had visitors coming from out of town and they needed ski rental or something like that, what would you, like, if you could swing it, what would be a nice downtime? Not to add to the
Best time is
chaos.
coming during the week times. Because,
Yeah.
Saturdays and Sundays are very busy, and the
Mhm.
week time you can kind of get the slopes by yourself.
Great.
I will make a comment on the ski rentals at Pigeon Creek are a fantastic resource. I think one of the people who has entered the skate skiing community via the rentals at Pigeon Creek. I skied since I was about 5 years old, but growing up on the east side of the state, skate skiing hardly existed in my childhood. And then moving over here, I started to meet more and more people who had done it, and I had no idea what was going on. Showed up over at Pigeon Creek one day, rented a pair of skis, and now I get out there as much as I can in the winter. And my kind of circle of friends and acquaintances from the area, which includes a lot of the people who are out there mountain biking in the summer, every year, more and more people I know will go and try it out and get into the sport, specifically because the barrier to entry is lowered by having rentals available right here at Pigeon Creek. So
Right.
I'm
Nice.
always surprised how many people actually meet like friends there, and they're just like, "You're out here? Why are you out here? You're same boat as you, basically, just here to enjoy the trails."
absolutely.
And what a fun winter to be working there
Yeah.
because, oh my gosh, yeah, it's great.
So far this winter, he mentioned about our sales being over budget. This would be our best winter since 2014.
Wow.
For sales. We're approximately nearing doubling our proposed budget, and I'm almost positive we'll hit that this weekend. And then you also mentioned the sledding hill and what fun that is. The unique thing about our sledding hill is it is a designed hill for sledding. It's not just some hill in the park that you sled down. That hill
I didn't know
has a
that.
steeper side on the left, a
Mhm.
less steep side on the right. It's got a long run for walking up that you don't have to go up the steep hill with rope and everything on it.
Yeah.
Plus, at the very end of the hill, it curves back up. So if
Mhm.
you happen to make it all the way to the woods, you start going uphill before you hit the trees or before you hit the fence.
Yeah.
So it slows you down and stops you. So it's not like
Hmm.
most sledding hills.
Interesting. Good. Anyone else?
I'll
Go ahead, Paul.
just make a comment that your passion for parks really shines. So we're
Mhm.
fortunate to have you working for the Parks Department. Thank you.
Good. All right. Well, thanks, Josh. We'll see you at the lodge, I guess.
So I'll go get some chili.
Yeah. Awesome. That was great. Thank you. All right. We'll keep going with the planning and development report. Kurt?
All right, I don't have a ton I need to comment on. I did add a couple of things at the end to talk about. One is we did reach an agreement with the Rotary Clubs in Grand Haven and Spring Lake to sponsor a nice little overlook seating area at Ottawa Sands on the northwest corner. The lake has a corner, I guess, northwest side of the lake, where it's kind of a high bluff. So a great little spot. It was right out of the master plan, but we've kind of reached how we can fund that. And so that's great. And then the other thing I've been working on quite a bit lately is the parks plan for 2026. And there is a schedule on there for you. I'm going to be presenting draft chapters to the planning committee and over the next few months. And then we will have likely a special meeting in May, I think is on there, to talk more specifically about what we want to look to do in the next 5 years. And that will include not only the stuff that I normally bring you, the planning and acquisition kind of stuff, but also what the other divisions have been working on to try to fulfill the strategic plan. So that's going to be an important meeting for us to kind of prioritize what we really want to go for in this next 5 years. But so happy to answer any questions on that, but otherwise you'll be hearing more about the plan in the next few months.
Great. Anyone? Yeah, go ahead, Theo.
Firstly, I want to apologize. I have at the same day, I have a meeting in Muskegon that starts at 1:30, and I
Oh,
will
no.
probably always be a little bit late, and I do apologize. I have a question regarding the planning. We don't really know what our funding's going to be in the future. Is the planning going to show A, B, C thinking?
Yes, that probably will show, what under our current funding scenario, what that gets us, and then add potentially higher funding scenarios.
And lower.
Well, and lower.
I don't know what's going to be happening to the state of Michigan because of federal changes. And apparently 40% of the funds for the state of Michigan come from different federal grants. So we don't know what's going to be happening, and I don't know how much money we get from the state, but that's something to at least be aware of.
Yeah, right. So we don't get any operating funds from the state where that could affect us, although I don't think it would for most of our grant programs, is doing kind of these extra things to add on to our regular operating. But you'll be able to see all those scenarios and projections for what we think our revenues will be.
Thank you.
Moving ahead.
Yeah, the capital funding sources from the state are pretty independent, both from oil, different, the trust fund and the land and water are both independent funding sources.
Any other questions for Kurt? I just had super quick one. Can you remind me again, like I saw addressing bank stabilization at Pawpaw East. What is ODC? They don't own that.
No, they're
right?
the
But
ones
why are-
who, they're looking at the whole watershed and they saw the
Right.
potential for a project in
Oh, gotcha.
in Pawpaw
Okay,
Park.
that's
So
right.
they actually applied for the grant and were successful. So we're
Okay.
just working out the logistics of
Yeah,
that because
okay.
it's difficult to get to.
Gotcha.
We're
But
act-
go ahead.
Well,
You know about it.
yeah, we're actually working on the easements right now to get to it.
Oh, okay.
Difficult location, but
Yeah.
it's pretty much a partnership between the parks, myself, ODC.
Ah, gotcha.
Right, so that, you
ODC
know,
applied, sorry.
in 2000, whenever we converted the Holland Country Club over,
Right.
we did a ton of that
Right.
kind of work
Yep.
there. All the worst areas, this is a little bit upstream on the main branch of the Macatawa River. So, yeah, it'd be a good spot to have. We knew it was problematic all along, and now we've got an opportunity to fix it.
It's moving forward. It's a good project.
Yeah. Good. How long is like linear feet? Is it?
I don't know, it said like in
Two
Oh, a couple
sections.
two
different-
sections,
Oh,
yeah, and
okay.
it's doing
I
different
forget what it is
sides.
added up together, but it's
Yeah.
pretty good size.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it's a combination of reshaping the bank and providing these, you know, I don't know if it's exactly a two-stage ditch, but
Pretty close
there's
to
this
it.
platform here that it
Gotcha.
can expand
Lines.
out, and then also adding some rock veins to redirect
Yep.
some of the water away from the vulnerable
Okay.
spots. So,
Great.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not absolutely huge, but it'll be a nice
Yeah.
improvement.
Great. Excellent. Anyone else? All right, we'll go with community engagement report. And Jess is out of town today, but so Riley, do you have anything you would like to highlight in here or? Oh yeah, you need them. Thanks, Jenny.
Over here closer. Our website recently was updated, so it's pretty nice and sleek looking. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I would recommend checking it out. And if you notice anything weird, please send me a note. And other than that, I think I'll let the report stand as written, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
And attached to the report is staff, as part of the strategic planning process, took a trip to Huron-Clinton Metro Park. So I know the Community Engagement Committee heard quite a bit about that a couple weeks ago, but the summary and some of the materials that were shared, and you know, that Aaron, you can speak a little bit to it, but the staff there really welcomed Ottawa County, and I think folks learned a whole lot. So.
Great. Excellent. And I know Linda sent an email. Some of those numbers are flip-flopped in that table, correct? Like the participants and visitor or programs and participants, like.
Yes.
Okay. So if you see like 399 programs, that's actually 24 or a couple of those, I think got flip-flopped, but
Like the public programs.
great. All right.
And
Anyone else?
A question, do they have a millage for all of the counties that pay for those parks?
So they have a millage, and then they have a mandatory motor vehicle permit for residents and non-residents at all of their facilities year-round. So, yep.
Sorry.
My day. I was calling you.
Joe's seeing who has their ringers on by calling everyone during the meeting. All right, great. Well, there's some good upcoming event dates in there too. I know that Ottawa Sands, or maybe you're going to talk about that with the foundation, the Ottawa
Yeah,
Sands.
and Angela's.
Oh,
fine.
okay. Sorry. All right.
We got it covered.
All right. Awesome. I just saw that in the date. So, all right, we'll keep going with the natural resources management report, and I know Neely had an event
Wetlands.
she's attending today or training, so she won't be able to join us. But if anyone has any questions, I'm sure Jason or someone can answer. Otherwise, we'll just let it stand as presented. Always good volunteer pictures in there.
Mhm.
I think the one thing that, right, as we talk about just their continuous work on managing and invasive species, they did identify hemlock woolly adelgid at Eastmanville Farm. So that's really pretty far to the east.
Yeah.
Disappointing. So.
Great. All right, we will keep going with the development report. Glenn?
So first of all, I want to apologize. Our formatting's a little bit askew with our columns. And also point out that because we are looking back at January, the first month of the year, the numbers in both columns are the same. So that's the reason why. But the good news is that, you can see a continuing trend for year over year of growing giving in January, the number of gifts that we're receiving. And what that speaks to is that we're finishing up the year strong. And these January gifts are kind of overlap from people that have made their decisions in December, put their checks in the mail at the end of the month, and then we have, received them afterwards. So, we're, as I said, the trend line is very positive for us going forward. Our average donation was, a little lower than last year, but last year we had a big year because of our campaign dollars. And you can see that as a percent of our annual goal, that's reflected similarly to the annual gift. Kurt stole my thunder with regard to the Rotary Overlook. The Grand Haven and Spring Lake Rotary clubs, along with their associated youth groups, are going to be sponsoring that overlook, and so we're very excited about that. The Rosemount Expansion Master Plan, which this group approved last year, I've been out shopping that around, showing it to donors, people that are interested, and it continues to get be positively received. So people are very excited about what's going to be happening out there. So if I can answer any questions, I'll be happy to.
Anyone have anything for Glenn? All right, good. All right, thanks, Glenn. We will go to the strategic plan implementation update. Jason, did you want to cover anything specifically in here?
Well, so we've talked about a few of the updates. I think the other, there is a Indian Springs Metro Park Environmental Discovery Center that the Mitchell Creek Nature Preserve and Grand Traverse and Traverse City, Grand Traverse Land Conservancy. Aaron had been there and really was impressed with it. Our natural resources management team has a scheduled visit in March. It includes things like large greenhouses for natives that we're talking about right now. It has its own dedicated goat barn. So excited for them to visit that site and see. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, that a lot of that was also fundraised.
Yeah, because they're a nonprofit, so they had there's a golf course that's been restored, and they took a country club and turned it into what they call a conservation center, and then also have a stewardship workshop that's like an operations center. It'd be interesting to see how they use that, and talking to Neely and Tyler about what things they might be interested in. So they could have some needs for like climate control for their herbicides and stuff like that. I guess something came up with space for storing, was the thing they're storing at Eastmanville Farm, Jason, the the giant.
Seed stratification.
It's a box to be able to propagate seeds out in the park in the natural environment, but protected from deer and rabbits and everything else. So instead of trying to raise them in a greenhouse or in an artificial environment, from what Neely was telling me, a lot of the seeds need to have the natural environment, need to have the freeze and thaw and all that. So we're creating a protected area that they can put this box wherever and then propagate seeds actually in the parks.
So one of the things with that visit and these concepts is going back to strategic plan, is conservation is one of our strategic initiatives, the 5 main ones. And if that is, if we want to really live that, this is some of the ways we might do that and expand our capacity potentially of natural resource management.
Exciting. Good. Anyone else have any questions? Or was there anything else, Jason, that you wanted to touch on? Okay.
Nope. Happy to
sorry,
answer
I'm
any
gonna-
questions. There's a Gantt
Okay.
chart with a timeline, and more to come
All right.
upcoming months.
Deal. All right. We will keep moving to the committee reports. Just before we dive into these, I think in February, all of the committees did select vice chairs. So just to reiterate where we're at on committees before we get in, the planning committee is Lucas as chair. I am going to serve as vice chair on the planning committee. For finance and policy, Linda McCaffrey is the chair of that, and Phil Kyers will be vice chair. And for community engagement committee, that Jane is our chair of that committee, and Martin is our vice chair. So Just so everybody knows, I know on our roster it indicates chairs, but just if you're not on all those committees and you're interested who vice chair is, that will be filling in case the chair can't fulfill their roles any given month. That's where we landed there, so. All right, for the executive committee, we actually did talk about a fair number of things. We had that meeting, February 10th. We actually met at the tree houses at Ottawa Sands, so it was pretty cool. I don't want to brag, but Jason let us look. I don't actually, was it Jane or Lucas's idea? So whoever's idea it was, and thanks to Jason. So it was very, very nice to get a peek inside at those. So let's see, we talked about quite a few things, the committee meeting times and options there for the various committees. We talked about some honorary trails or signage in parks that we might want to entertain coming up for a couple of folks who have dedicated a lot of time and effort to the parks. So I think we're going to be probably finance and policy will be looking at more of a formal naming policy agenda coming up in the next month or two. Even though we have some guidelines and things we work under now, we might try to formulate a more formal policy there. We talked about different outdoor education being provided and how to coordinate that in the parks. The county commissioner tour, I think we talked about that as maybe coming up in fall of 2025 at some point. Actually, a meeting invite
We
got
did, we
sent
got a
out, right?
tentative date scheduled, so.
Great. So if you
Yep.
didn't get that, hopefully everybody got to save the date. But that's been really great in the past, especially if you're new on the commission. It'll be great for you probably too if you can join. But just we get on a bus. Park staff does a great job picking out some of the key parks and giving a tour and sharing information with the county commissioners. Since we have some that are new this year, so it's actually really, really fun and really nice and a good way to get out and highlight some of the parks and some of the activities going on there. So then we touched on bylaw review that's coming up, and I know everybody got an email on that about them just getting briefly revisited here, probably early in 2025, and then went over the agenda items that we have on our agenda. So I think those were the key, unless Lucas or Jane, if you have anything else. But.
Only, we talked about, and I think maybe you already mentioned it, but staff presentations to the Parks Commission, like Josh did today. If you have a burning desire to know more about something that the Parks Department does, I guess let
Yeah,
Kelly
that
know,
would be
and
great.
we can maybe facilitate getting staff members to address those topics. But so if you really, want to know more about something that park staff does, let us know.
Good.
Kelly, quick question. You briefly mentioned the educational programs in the park.
Mhm.
Has there been any, over time or yes or no, any discussion at all with the ODC about perhaps jointly working on projects together? Because I know they do some of this in the summer. Last year, they did a wonderful program with some lower income kids from Grand Haven. And I just wonder if, I hate to see a lot of administrative duplication for things that potentially could be done together. Has there
Right.
been any
Yeah,
discussion?
that's actually kind of exactly what we were talking about. And Jason and Jessica and some staff are coordinating, how do we coordinate, who's doing what? I don't know if there's anything specific you
No,
wanted
and
to
we
share on that,
partner
Jason, but.
with the Outdoor Discovery Network on a number of, whether it's capital projects or educational opportunities. So I think we have a meeting coming up in the next few weeks.
Good.
Mhm.
I think they're a really excellent organization and I hate to see duplication of services.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep. Good. Anyone else? All right, we'll keep going to Lucas with the planning committee report.
Sure, thank you. Well, we welcome Field to the group and to the new planning group. So thanks, Field. Field jumped right in and is helping provide some good input. Two grants that are on the agenda tonight were discussed. Two Natural Resources Trust Fund grants. So we discussed those. The one out at the Rosie Mound and also phase 2 of the Bass River project. And we also talked about the Rotary project with the overlook out there and began the conversation about the millage renewal and strategizing on that and what that looks like coming into the future. So any questions, be happy to answer them or attempt to.
Great. Anything for Lucas? All right, we will keep going with the Finance and Policy Committee. Actually, Linda is not here today and she's the chair, and Phil's not here either, who's the vice chair. So Jane is going to take this one this month.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to help me, Kelly, because I didn't take a lot of notes. But you've got our agenda in the packet here. These are all the topics that we touched on. The budget calendar, we're gonna be approving later today in our agenda. We're gonna accept that, I should say. So you've already seen that. Brandy, helped us look through the fund summary to date. Everything's good so far, as well as our fiscal 2025 year-to-date numbers. There's also a request by a vendor who is interested in supplying some lockers at kayak launch sites in our parks that would allow users to rent a kayak that would be stored there on site and use it, return it. Something that Jason looked into a couple years ago, and the business plan wasn't really amenable to what we wanted to do, but a particular vendor has come forward with a better plan, I guess. So we talked about the possibilities for that type of arrangement at our parks, and I'm going to be looking into that a little bit more. So had a good discussion on that. There's, the idea of lockers at parks. It could be kayaks, it could be bird watching equipment, it could be many different things. So anyway, we're looking at an RFP for that type of business arrangement. It was, it was kind of a cool idea. And then Kelly also mentioned the bylaws, and so we'll be taking a look at those. I know the county is also involved with all departments looking at bylaws and appointments and that type of thing. So it's a logical time to be doing that. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's good.
Okay.
I did just want to throw in, I can't remember if we've actually ever formally introduced Brandy. Brandy, can you raise your hand back there? Brandy is an integral part of our Finance and Policy Committee. And we do look a lot of spreadsheets or exports and spreadsheets from budget software and so forth. So Brandy's really great. She puts together summaries of where we are. And so it's really, really great that she's able to help out, because yeah, it's much more clear since Brandy has joined the team. So yes, thanks, Brandy. You don't get enough thanks. So I know you and Jason do a lot of work in the background. So yeah, and I think that's it. Just that staff, I think staff was going to work on the RFP on the kayak and the lockers, because multiple people over the years have approached. So kind of having parks steering the ship on that for which direction we go. Great, thanks, Jane. And you are up again for community engagement.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, did anyone have questions for Jane on finance and policy? I forgot to pause. All right, keep going.
Okay, so community engagement, we got to look at the annual report draft that staff will be presenting to the county's, one of their committees in March. What committee is that again, Riley?
Planning.
Their planning committee. So Riley's done a ton of work. Riley and Jess have done a ton of work putting that annual report together. And we all reviewed it and they gave a little feedback, but that's scheduled, I think, for the second week in March to be presented to the county. And then we'll see it shortly thereafter, probably at our March full Parks Commission meeting. So it looks great. And there's going to be a nice little video with it, gorgeous photography, really, really impressive. So, yeah, and then we just looked at community engagements, department level strategic plan implementation initiatives, including some timelines regarding the millage renewal in 2026. We did a drill down into some very robust visitation data that gives us all sorts of information on who's visiting the parks, how many visits, how many unique visits, where they're coming from. Jason or Aaron can extrapolate from that the economic benefit to the community from those visits. So we took a look at that, and we are going to be determining which of that data we want to have reported back to the Parks Commission on a regular basis. There's so much of it, and there's so many ways we can have it presented. So we're coming to those decisions about what we really want to see about visitation data. But the software we have now is, can give us a lot of information. So we'll be putting that together. And then we heard more about the field trip to Huron Clinton Metro Parks, which you saw in the packet too, and did some brainstorming on, what could we do? We could do this, we could do that. How do they do this? How do they do that? It was kind of a fun little thought experiment. So, social media, there've been some more social media posts, I would say, lately because of some of the big projects we're doing. And so the committee thought it might be a good idea for parks commissioners to just have some guidance and tips about if we want to respond to social media posts and how we should be doing that and what are good things to keep in mind for that. So there's we asked to have those tips included in the onboarding packet or to be distributed in some way. So, I mean, it's basic, be polite. Don't represent yourself as being a spokesperson for the Parks Department or the Parks Commission. You can, we can comment as individuals and, typically highlight all the positive stuff that's going on. So just some stuff like that.
Are we going to circulate that?
I'm trying. I think
We will. I think we were going to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
we're gonna
gotcha.
kind
of-
Okay,
Formalize it a
and then
little
we'll
bit.
just email it around or something?
Edit it.
Okay.
Yeah, and have it on Teams, I think. So
Gotcha. That's
Yeah.
fine.
I made a
That's
note. I'll follow up with Jess's back, but I made a note that maybe we run it by the Finance and Policy Committee.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And then the virtual programming update. So we got some info on where we're at with potentially obtaining equipment that would allow us to provide virtual programming. There's a lot of complexities to it. So we're going to, continue to talk about that, see what's possible. The strategic planning will kind of inform some of that as well. So those were our topics. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Anybody have anything or anything to add?
Lots of good programs coming up. Mushroom foraging, saunas, yoga, bird watching, all that good stuff.
Anything to add? Okay. All right, we'll keep
Bruce, did I
rolling.
miss anything?
Yeah, I was looking to see.
No,
Bruce.
you know, this is a little off the subject, but when I was looking through this, what is it? The Clinton Metro Park, there was a comment or in one of their slides in their presentation that Jess inserted, and it had a comment about how they tried to keep their attendance up during the slow time of the year, and that was via not always in person, but some of their their traveling programs as well. And I thought, oh, I hadn't noticed that, because they had an overlaying graph of in the wintertime, they're trying to bump up their attendance at the parks that people are not normally hiking or walking or whatever.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was one of the things that they're doing that really intrigued us, was their mobile nature education vans that they take around. There are I think a 5-county area, so it's a very large area. But yeah, how that really augmented some of the programming that they do in the parks.
Right.
Good. All right, we'll keep going with the Ottawa County Parks Foundation update. And that's you again, Jane.
Okay.
You're on the hot seat today.
I really don't have any updates. Angela's going to present the foundation's annual report in a few minutes, and she'll cover all the highlights and remind us of upcoming event dates. So there hasn't been a foundation meeting since our last meeting, so nothing policy-wise to report at this point.
Great. All right, well, Angela, you're actually up next, so it's a good segue as we start in old business. What we have here is the 2025 Ottawa County Parks Foundation Annual Report.
So I'm Angela Miller. I'm the foundation manager. I've been with the foundation since 2018. I was their first staff hire. So every year for, I want to say since 2019, we've done an annual report, and it's kind of just grown over the years. So this is our 2024 annual report. This is our list of board of directors. So we do have our own independent board of directors. Jane is our board lead for Parks Commission. She's a full voting member. Jason's also on our board as a non-voting member. We added 3 new board members in 2025. So this is our 2025 list. And we had 1 board member leave, which was our treasurer, Pete Esser, and Greg Boynton has come on now as our treasurer. Otherwise, our executive committee has stayed the same over the last year. So the interesting part are general performance. So this is everything that we paid out to support parks last year. So we ended up supporting parks for $3.5 million roughly. The majority of that was for Ottawa Sands. That was all an in and out situation with the IDEMA grant. And then we did a lot of benches last year. The majority of that was for the bench pads out at Ottawa Sands. The Parks Greenway Value Assessment, that was the second half of a pledge on that. And the Health and Wellness Program was actually a new initiative last year that we started, as well as the Natural Resource Management. So our gifts, we had as Glenn mentioned, we had a phenomenal year last year with donations. Our total undesignated gifts, so those are donations that a donor gives and doesn't say that we have to spend it on a particular thing. Those were at $312,000. And then the rest of those were designated gifts. As you'll see there, we had 4 funds that folks wanted to donate to. It's pretty common that we do get some of those as well. So last year, I mentioned earlier, we funded several ongoing and some new initiatives. The Health and Wellness Initiative was a big one that we funded, was new last year. That includes sponsorships. That's a sponsorship driven, that we would take individual donations on that fund. That's driven for the parks programming that relate to health and wellness. So Step It Up, go through hikes last year. This year it's supporting the Visit Every Park Challenge, and then it also supports the Grand Explorers Trail Race, which I'll talk about shortly. And then of course we do the public programming support. In the Parks and newsletter, there is a butterfly. Riley does a really good job of remembering that every month. A butterfly next to the programs that are supported by the foundation. So those are like the Family Nature Days, the Dune Discovery, Wildfire Walks, etc. They're basically the free programs that are offered by the parks. And then, of course, the Economic Impact and Community Benefits study. The foundation helped with funding. Ottawa Sands, we all know what went on out there. Probably the biggest part of that I was involved with was the 29 benches that we sold out there. If you've been out there, I believe they're all installed there. They will be shortly. I'm still working on getting plaques for all of them, but they are all sponsored and we have a wait list. So it was a very successful initiative is selling the benches out there. Very busy summer. And then of course, Rosie Mound, the foundation raised over $500,000 on that. And I believe the last commission meeting, you all voted to invoice us for the acquisition on that. And so that's been paid. And then of course the natural resource management, that was kind of a new pool. And that helps support the oak wilt spread at Riley Trails with tracking and creation of a buffer zone there. So we have a lot of donor outreach that we do throughout the year. We have 2 appeals annually, a spring end of the year, and then we have several events. We have monthly donors, memorial honorary, the bench program, just to name a few. And I forgot to put a slide up here, but we have on Saturday the Ottawa Sands documentary. The foundation is going to be kicking it off with doors opening at 5, and we're going to do Bobby Sabine's going to welcome everyone, and then Ria's going to do a journaling program for our supporters, and that's going to start at 5:30, and there'll be a hot cocoa bar there as well. So if you're available to come out, join us on Saturday. The documentary will premiere at 6:30, and then we're hoping to get everyone out of there by 7:30. Some other upcoming events we have coming up: the Piece Together Parks event on March 1 at noon. That's going to be at the Grand Haven Eagles. That's organized by by Bobby Sabine. Kelly, I know, has a team like every year on it.
It's actually Jane's team, but then she goes out of town every year and says, hey, put my team together for me. So, yes.
You guys were dressed up really cool last year. I saw the picture.
Oh.
But everyone dresses up for it. They get custom shirts or they dress themed. It's a lot of fun. And then we have, that's going to be March 1. Registration is open. We have about 9 slots left for that event. So if you know anyone that's really good at puzzles or just wants to have a good time, it's noon to 3:30. We have Art for the Parks coming up on April 26th. This is an event that we do with the Lakeshore Visual Arts Collective. We've done this for the last 5 years maybe. It's been for a while now. $10 door donation, and then we get a percentage of the art sales from the event the foundation does. And it's just a really fun. They have live music. There's a food truck. It's a fun event. The Grand Explorers Trail Race, which I mentioned earlier, part of the Health and Wellness Sponsorship Initiative, that is going to be June 21st at 8 a.m. I know if you're not a runner, you can walk it or you can volunteer at it. So I know Anita is looking for volunteers as well, or if you know anyone that can sponsor. And then this is our signature event. It's the breakfast lunch at the park. If you've never been to one, I recommend it. I have people asking to go every year. There's no charge to attend, but there is an ask. Last year, we raised over $70,000 on this event, and that is net. The outgoing cost on this event is around $8,000, which is all covered by sponsors. The rest is individual donations that we receive at the actual event. And this is also a great opportunity to introduce folks to the Parks Foundation and to our parks. It's at Grand Ravines. We're looking for table hosts, sponsors, and attendees. Even if you don't think you can host an entire table, we can help you out with that. Highly recommend coming to this event. We have a great speaker this year, Neely. She has some great presentation planned out, and then I told her she had to do an activity. So there'll be a fun activity as well. And then the last event we have of the year is our annual meeting, which is on October 8th. And this year is going to be a little bit special. We have our current and our past president. Both will be term limited off our board. But it's a great opportunity to meet the foundation board and learn what we've been doing for the past year. So, any questions?
I've got a quick question. You talked about the sponsorship of tables. Do you sponsor a table for the morning, for the breakfast, and then somebody else potentially do it for lunch, or are you sponsoring the
Don't
table?
actually sponsor the table. You can sponsor and be a table host, but they are two separate things. You can do one at the breakfast or at the lunch or both. So you don't have to do one at both events.
And it's no cost to attend, so you don't have to pay for the
I
table.
understand that. I just am thinking, if you were to be a table host, should you be there for breakfast and for lunch?
Come for one event.
Okay.
So we do have, I think Kelly, you did the breakfast last.
Yeah, I usually do breakfast, but
Yeah.
yeah.
We have some folks that just come and do the lunch. Usually the breakfast, I have the least number of hosts at, which is a nice little warm-up event, and the food is significantly better.
Is it? All right.
But the lunch is a great event too. We usually have about 16 tables at the lunch and about 12 to 13 at the breakfast.
So I'll be sending around, Angela just developed the invitations and I'll email that to everybody. So you can get it on your calendar, either just to attend, or if you want to be a table host, we can get you hooked up. And if you are interested in a sponsorship, Angela can help you out with that as well. So yeah, I usually do the lunch because I don't get up early in the morning anymore if I don't have to. So, and the food at the lunch is pretty good too.
But some years it has been really hot, so it has been really nice to have the breakfast. So you're not out there when it's 85 at lunch.
That's true.
But
I have another question, which is probably more appropriate for the foundation itself. But you, normally when there's an annual report, there's a balance sheet.
We do not, we do have that, we're an audited organization. Our audit happens typically June, July is when our board votes on it, and then we present that to the Parks Commission, typically in August.
Okay, so that would be something that we would eventually see?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then our past audits, are all available online on our website. And then any nonprofit organization, because we are a 501c3, you can actually go on the IRS website. Every single nonprofit that files a 990, you can look it up on the IRS website.
I totally respect that you're an independent foundation. When you had an annual report there, I thought, where's this?
Yeah, it's because our audit happens, we do our annual report in the first half of the year, and then the audit doesn't happen until the second half of the year.
Thank you, Angela. It's nice to finally put a face to your name. I've only been hearing from you for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Great. Yes, thank you, Angela. And sorry, I probably should have taken a motion before we started discussing the report, but we do have a suggested motion to accept the foundation annual report as submitted.
So move.
All right.
Support.
All right. Thank you, Jane and Joe. Gotta get this recorded. Are there any final questions for Angela at all, or Jane, or
Just to point
Glenn?
out, in your packet too is the MOU with the foundation, so you can take a closer look at the way the relationship's structured and what our roles and responsibilities are.
Great. Any final questions or comments? All right, we'll just go ahead and put it to a vote then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, great. Motion carries. Okay, we will move on to, oh, shoot. I should have done this first. Well, we're okay. We had it publicized for a public information meeting at 4 for the new business of the Rosie Mound expansion, Phase 1 improvements, and the Item Explorers Trail Bass River segment Phase 2. So we're all good. I totally forgot to watch the clock, though. We just had to make sure these occurred after 4 o'clock. But I do not see any public in the audience either. So I think what we could do, we have talked about both of these projects before. Usually we do a presentation from staff. Maybe we'll just go ahead and stick with that in case the members of the public come. So we'll have Kurt give a presentation first on Rosie Mound expansion, Phase 1 improvements. Then if anyone comes, we'll have an opportunity for public comment, and then we'll move on to staff or the commission making the suggested motion at that point in time. But the public information presentation is required under the grant, the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund, to have the public informational meetings, which is today and right here, right now. So Kurt, you're up. Oh, go ahead,
Just
Aaron.
we did notice this meeting, and then typically our practice is to do mailings for Rosie Mound. We didn't, since we just mailed people for the master plan update, it would have been the same group rather than notice them again. We didn't mail to them. And then we didn't, for the second project, we did send a mailing. There's not a ton of people that live by that project. So, and two of the most impacted people have given easements to it. So, yeah.
Great.
There's a certain procedure to get this approved. So this is the first real step. It will go to the board and then actually do a resolution supporting that. And the idea is to get it all in by April 1. So with the meetings laid out, we need to start now. So yes, we have two of them. The first
Hey,
one
Kurt, can you bend the microphone? Like, I know when I watch other meeting videos like that, the microphone on that podium doesn't come across on the YouTube very well. So thanks. Yeah, there you go.
So yes, the first one is Rosie Mound. So yes, we just approved the master plan last month. But that's right on schedule for getting in the grant application to do the first phase of improvement. So I want to show you. Well, first of all, yeah, everybody understands what the area that we just expanded. This was just closed in December, right? So very fresh, 7 acres. And so, yeah, we know people are going to be interested in seeing it. And so we want to do some improvements right away that will help people enjoy it without messing things up, right? So this is a copy of the master plan that was prepared and approved. And you can see, I mean, the main thing this is going to add is access, very free access, but then a lot of trails. What did we get? We got 2.5 miles of trail.
Yeah. So our current trail system is 1.9 miles. So more than double the trail system.
This map shows what we're including in this initial phase of improvement. So on the right side is Lakeshore Drive, and so we're developing this new entrance, right? So it's a new entrance drive coming into a nice parking area, kind of trail. That's fully barrier free. Now, what this does not include is some of the niceties like a modern restroom or some of the activity spaces that we had. It does have a rustic restroom, vault toilet, whatever you want to call it. A little nicer. But we have, a modern restroom on the south, and I think a modern restroom on the north would be something we would look at fairly soon in the future. But anyway, that we'll get the brand new entrance there, right? So we'll have a nice new sign. We'll have a crossing over Lakeshore Drive for pedestrians to come into this main area where people can park and get oriented. We'll have a trailhead. We'll have a kiosk. We'll have bike racks. We'll have some of those kind of features. A couple of picnic tables. So it makes it serviceable. Then the next big feature would be the barrier-free trails, right? So this is coming off that parking lot, this loop that's in the bottom of the bowl. We would like to do the whole thing. It's about 8.87 acres, I think, is the official.
Acres or miles?
Oh, 0.85. It's right on there. I'm not even reading my own slide. I'm looking to Aaron. So 2.7 miles of new trails, but 0.85 is this loop that's barrier free, and then also this route up, if you're familiar with it, up out to the edge of the bowl towards the lake, so you can actually get a great view out looking towards the lake and really over all of the property. So we think that's going to be a really great feature because, as we've said there, we think this is pretty much the only place in West Michigan where you can have that kind of experience barrier free. I mean, almost every other place, they're great, but you got to hike upstairs to the top. All of our parks are like that, right? So this would be not like that. And even if you think north and south of us, there really isn't quite a place like that. So we think that's awesome. So you can get up to the rim of this bowl, and then there will be a connection from there down the bowl, the other side, and connecting into the existing trail system. That gets you to the lake and to the other features that are in the existing park. And the other big piece would be developing the trail system that's on kind of the northwest side of the park. Those trails have kind of been there. They've been used by locals, but we never promoted them because they took you off our site. So, but now we own it all. So, okay, great. Let's develop these trail systems. So it's going to be mostly natural surface, but we'll have signage and those kind of things. And then we will be doing some stairways and boardwalks where that makes sense. So we can get up some of these steep areas or areas that are particularly fragile. And we also have a really nice overlook at the very high point of the site. So we think this is a great first phase. We'll get people to enjoy all of the areas that are unique and special about this site. There's there's more stuff we could do, but we think this is really will get us a long way towards what we want to do with this site. So this is how the budget works out. About $1.1 million of construction, another $100,000 of professional fees to design, engineer, and permit it. So $1.2 million project, basically. We've got the revenues set there. Starting from the bottom, we're going for a trust fund grant of $400,000. That's the maximum you can do, but it's a big enough project where we can match it with the other stuff and get the full points for the match. Parks Foundation is working on their fundraising, so we're planning on the 662, which has been in the plan. We also have another grant out there to help with the planning. I said there was $100,000 for planning, engineering, permitting. We have a coastal zone grant out there for $50,000. We think we have a good chance of doing that. We got it for Ottawa Sands, right? So it's the kind of thing that program likes to fund. And then we would still need just another $87,000, unless Glenn just happens to raise more than he said he would out of our CIP project, our fund to reach the $1.2 million. So that the last slide? Yeah. So any questions on
When would,
how that would work?
what's the timeline?
Okay, timeline, good. That's what people usually ask. So we apply April 1, and the state does their evaluation through the summer. We'll have a chance in usually September to modify our application if they have questions, or we figure out how we can get some more points or something. We would do that in the fall. And then in December, at the trust fund board meeting, they would make their recommendation for funding. As if you've been with us, you know that there still is a big step after that, and that is to get the legislature to actually appropriate the funds. Usually that happens in the summer. Last year it happened very, very late. We hope it's back on the normal schedule because we can't really go out for bids until we have that grant agreement in place. We can do a lot of the planning work, and we will, to get it all ready to go, because we would like to start construction in fall of 2026 to be open in 2027. I should mention too that we are planning on a couple of more minor improvements right away this spring to allow people to come in there. Like, we're working on that crossing of Lakeshore Drive. So if you're on the non-motorized trail on the east side, there will be a marked crossing with flashers to allow you to get across the road and into the park. And then we will have a marked route or a mode route or something that people will know how to get through the site to the beach. And they won't just be traipsing all over the place without knowing where they're going. So
Basic
that's gonna
signage.
happen. Huh?
Basic signage.
Basic, right. So, but we'll probably have some stuff about what's gonna happen, all those kind of things. So really basic initially, because we will likely have an event of some sort to acknowledge this addition to the park system. Maybe in June is what we were talking. There'll be more information about that. All right.
But there won't be any parking on site, right?
Right,
Until
we decided
later.
Not to do parking
Yeah.
on site, and so we're actually working with the township right now to designate a no parking zone near that entrance, so we don't just get people parking on the side of the road and trying to walk in there.
Any questions for Kurt?
I have one. Obviously, I think visitation expectations would probably be lower on this time of year, but since we have so much snow, it seems like it's right on mind. You've got in the phase 1 plans, there's the accessible trail. I know the township clears most of the bike paths in the area nearby. Have there been any plans set on what will happen with the accessible path, during winter operations?
No, we have not discussed that specifically yet, winter operations there. I mean, it would normally be, no, we wouldn't, just like we don't at Ottawa Sands. We can talk more about that.
Could be a good thing to discuss in the ops strategic plan about, future.
Then, we'll revisit Ottawa Sands after this season, and we've had a really good winter to look at it. I know that, especially once the campground's open, I think part of what we also wouldn't want to use salt or any
Yeah.
type of ice control. So, I think that there's a limit to a certain extent, but this being a destination could be one of those sites that would lend itself to it.
Yeah, from what I could tell, Ottawa Sands has been very slow since it got cold. Even versus other parks, Dune Harbor Parks had a ton of ice fishing, not been a ton at Ottawa Sands. That will change when we have camping. So that could change that, but right now it's very slow at Ottawa Sands. I haven't looked a lot at Rosemount. I'm assuming it's pretty slow too. With it being this cold, every park but really Eastmanville Bayou, Pigeon Creek, and Riley trails have been very, very slow. Like
Suppose one of the considerations might be getting in there like now to see how windy does it get in that bowl, because if it's drifting everywhere, it might not be worth the effort, but just felt like something to wonder about.
Yeah, Rosie Mountain, that snow in the bowl is what, about a foot deeper than it is everywhere else? It's not easy to walk right now.
Yeah, we were gonna do a little site, we did a site visit 2 or 3 weeks ago. We're gonna walk and look at some things and,
Yeah.
we ended up not doing it.
We have had some concerns about plowing bike paths this winter. We get them every winter, just 2 or 3. A couple this year that have actually elevated to the level of complaint rather than concern. But it's usually not a ton of people that are interested in that, especially in our ones that are real close to the road that just get covered back up by the road commission plows anyways.
Yeah, I thought I was driving by Ottawa Sands the other day and I wondered about asking Ferrysburg to do it in the future, because they already do it with their, they already go down North Shore and do it. That'd be an option too. And maybe that's what you're thinking with Grand Haven Township doing it, rather than having us do it. They have the equipment. Yeah. So.
And there's lots of things to consider. One of the, like Jason said, without using salt, trails that are bench cut that have high and then the flat and then low are susceptible to becoming very icy if you clear them of snow, because you're getting that melt from up above and then it covers and then you just get sheet ice instead of snow, and snow is easier to walk on than ice.
Anyone else?
Just an outside question. What if the state doesn't approve the trust fund grant? What would,
So this one, we feel, based on their scoring system, pretty confident that
I understand.
do well. As far as that goes, it's pretty, we'll talk about the next one is a lot. We don't feel quite as good as about. I was looking again at the scoring. Yeah, this one should, we feel pretty good about it. It partly depends how they view this as a regional trail connection. It's like an extra 20 points, but yeah, it should score around 370. 375, so that out of 500, and that's very, very typically funded. The thing that would really hurt us there is just if there was on there, since it's an investment fund now, just they do really poorly because of the economy. That would really severely limited their ability. The other thing, it's really easy to apply again. With the trust fund, you can just copy and paste and apply the next year.
I just hope it works.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even if we don't, we would still have a $800,000 project, which
Sure.
would be enough
Do some stuff.
to make a big difference. Right? Yeah.
All right, anything else? All right, public comment period is over. So we can count that as all our public comment. Do we have a motion? We have a suggested motion to recommend this application to the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund Program for funding assistance to construct the Rosie Mound Phase 1 improvements and forward to the County Board of Commissioners for final approval.
So move.
Okay, thanks, Jane.
Support.
Thank you, Martin. All right, final questions, thoughts? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. All right, Kurt, you want to move on to the Item Explorers Trail Bass River Segment Phase 2?
So this is, we're applying to the exact same program, right? This is the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund. And their development side, you can apply for a development or an acquisition grant. So we will have to say this one is our second choice. So that if it comes to that and we need to choose one of them, the Rosie Mound would be the one. But we thought it was worth trying for this. So this is a map of the whole Item Explorers Trail, right? We've been working on it for a long time. We've purchased lots of land and we're starting to develop the trail. More than starting to develop the trail, we're getting close to half.
Yeah, we're over halfway complete, and then the western third is done.
Yeah. So, and we've all along looked at various grant programs to help us fund particular segments, and we've been successful. We've gotten TAP, the Transportation Alternatives Program. We have gotten a land and water conservation fund for the first phase of Bass River, and we actually we've been successful 2 times.
3. This is our 4th try.
Okay, 3 times we've gotten this grant program to help fund portion of the trail. So, so this is the whole thing you can look at. This, we can get you this in more detail if you're interested. It just shows what's been done and what the schedule is for future segments. But what we're really interested in is that very central section there, that right in the middle is the yellow area. That's the Bass River State Recreation Area. And here's a little a bigger view of it. And most of you know, right, we have an agreement with the state that allows us to construct this trail through this area. So we've been working on it quite hard. And phase one is, most of this on this plan is phase one, which goes all the way from the top left, which is Riverside Park, through Riverside Park, and then connects into the Bass River and goes, winds through there all the way to where their launch ramp is. And that's the P on the lower right. So that's phase one. We're waiting for the grant paperwork on that to come through. The grant we got with the state of Michigan actually applied for it and got this grant. We're waiting for that to come through before that can be constructed. So we're thinking that will likely happen starting in the fall, phase one. But excuse me, phase two is this little piece between the two P's, between the black P and the red P. And it's not very long, but it's kind of expensive because it's got a bunch of boardwalk in. This is very wetland rich area, which is great, but it makes it harder to build. This is an area where we had to work hard to get 2 easements from neighbors, but those are in place. And it also has a new bridge over the Bass River. So that's just west of that red P. That's a very interesting spot. It was a bridge. I don't know when it was built or when it was taken out of there, but it was an old bridge for the road that went through here. And we're going to actually just build a new bridge kind of right over the abutments for that.
So the background you see is actually, I took that picture from the river, the Bass River. So that's the abutment you can see in the background. That was the best way to see it, because if you take it from the abutment, it just looks like really wooded and stuff.
Right. So this trail goes from the launch ramp and across the Bass River, and then where that red P is, that green spot is property that we purchased, I don't know how long ago, a couple years ago. We call it the Walcott property for the trail, but it also allows us to have that as an endpoint, right? It's not just dumping people out in this trail, no place. So that's what it is. So not very long, but it's got a lot of boardwalk. It's got a bridge. So this is the budget we put together for this project. We think it's going to be about $1.18 million of construction, and the revenues are $400,000 from this grant, and then $782,491 Parks Foundation. That actually comes, that's money that's already there in the green light fund. So if we don't get this one field, we probably still do it. We're just going to look for money on some of the next segments. We have the money to do it, but we think this is worth a try, even though we've mentioned a couple times, we think this is on the margin of being successful. We do a pretty good job of figuring out what the scoring is going to be for this project and how good a score you need to usually get one. This one is on the edge, but we think it's worth a try, even just to see how there's new scoring criteria this year a little bit. So we want to see how this one scores. That will help us in the future to determine whether it's worth it to reapply or apply for this section. All right. All right. Any questions on this?
Actually, could we probably, to do this right, can we have a suggested motion and then we can open it up for discussion and questions? The suggested motion reads to recommend an application to the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund. Oh, I'm on the wrong sheet. Hold on. I'm going to read it off paper. To recommend an application to the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund program for funding assistance to construct the Bass River segment Phase 2 of the Grand River Greenway Item Explorers Trail and forward to the County Board of Commissioners for final approval and adoption of the required Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund resolution.
So moved.
All right. Was that you, Lucas?
Mhm.
Okay, great. Thanks,
I'll
Lucas.
second.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. All right. Now questions, comments for Kurt.
Along with Jason's question earlier about time frame, would that be, yeah, obviously it's down the road. Is it a year and a half or two?
Fall of 2026, likely when construction would start.
Kurt's optimistic. I just tell people 2027.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Anyone else?
Ironically, if we don't
Oh.
get the grant, it could go faster. Because you don't have to wait for.
Yeah.
Sure.
Kurt, why does this one have, I noticed in the motion that it has a resolution, adoption of the required trust fund resolution, but the one before it, the Rosie Mound Phase 1 doesn't?
I thought it did, maybe.
They both require the same one.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Like this suggested motion on this one, it's just different at the end, it says,
I think the Rosie Mound has the resolution.
yeah,
Approve and
just the
adopt.
suggested motion verbiage was different for the two. So I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that, but
The verbiage on the action request
is correct.
is correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was just on the agenda.
Yeah.
See, that's what I get for
Okay.
being in the wrong spot in my packet.
Yeah, I thought I had that right, so.
All right.
Yeah.
For both of them.
All right. So for the proposed motion or suggested motions that were made and approved, we're going to go with what is in the packet and on the action sheet and not the agenda verbiage. Does that make sense, Ginny? Because you might be doing it. Okay. Awesome. All right. Sorry. Okay. Any other questions for Kurt? All right. We'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right. Motion carries. All right. Thanks, Kurt. Those were good packets of information. We will go on to the 2026 Parks Budget Calendar. And the suggested motion is to accept the Parks Budget Calendar as submitted. This was reviewed by Finance and Policy this month as well. So, does anyone from Finance and Policy, well, I guess that's you, Jane, or anyone else
I'll
want to
make
make
that
the motion? All right. Thanks, Jane. Do we have a support?
Support.
Okay. Thanks, Martin. Okay. Anything that you wanted to highlight, Ginny or Jason, on this one?
Nope. So we've been working with Brandy on just trying to lay out a timeline. It's worth noting, we're the schedule. We approved the budget in June, so that's a year earlier than we've done the past couple of years, and maybe even 2 years earlier than we've done latest. So there's a lot of work there to do, but I think we're set up to meet the deadlines.
Great. Any questions on this? All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. And it brings us to our last item on new business, which is the Historic Ottawa Beach Wampa Van Dyke Underground Utility License Agreement. It was a late request to be added, and so it hasn't been through any of the committees. It was shared with the executive committee, but I think I'd like to see if, Jason, you could just give us a presentation on what's proposed here, and then before we have a suggested motion.
So we've been working with this property owner. They have 2 parcels. So one parcel is in the West Michigan Park Association. The other one's outside of it. The one that's outside of it has an existing house. They are working to move the home to the parcel that's in Wampa. So a few months ago, we approved a license authorizing parking in the right of way. So this, I included at the end of the packet, some background on the historic Ottawa Beach and the relationship with the West Michigan Park Association. So there's a intertwined, there are boardwalks, right-of-ways, trails, sidewalks, and that we own. Some of these cottages only have pedestrian access to their residences. So part of a stipulation in the early 2000s, we're required to accommodate parking in that area. So the Parks Commission and subsequently then the Board of Commissioners approved that several months ago. So during this conversation, the contractor made us aware that they'll also need approval to authorize underground utilities to that lot. So we used a very similar template that we'd worked with the attorneys to authorize those utility easements or utility license. Kelly, I do have an updated version that changed I think I found easement in one place on that sketch. So
did they submit, something, a revised exhibit?
I haven't sent it out yet,
Okay.
but the last page says an easement. So I was,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. Does anyone care to make the suggested motion as posed on our action request sheet? Currently, this motion reads to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the license agreement to authorize an underground utilities license agreement for West Michigan Park Association, Van Dyke Lot, 0 North Park Avenue, and the tax ID number or one substantially similar. Further, the Parks Director is instructed to fulfill the intent of the commission in these matters. So we have the suggested motion, if anyone wants to make it or make a different motion.
I'll make the motion
Okay,
as presented.
I'll support it.
okay. Okay, discussion.
This is the same one, Jason, help me understand. It's been talked about for.
Same one. as the
Same one,
parking.
right?
Yeah.
So nothing's changed, really.
Yeah, I would just say that it may seem like it's rushed at this point, but if any one of us would have been a bit sharper, we would have known that, yes, this house actually needs utilities, not just a driveway.
Correct.
Right? So it could have been in the previous license, but it wasn't. So.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess I'm probably gonna be voting no on this just because I've got questions and concerns on the way this is presented. So until those get fixed, I'm, I guess what I have questions on, and it's not necessarily that I'm opposed to the project, but it references easement in the figure, but it's not an easement, it's a licensed area. And I think, Jason, you were really good to make it a license for these. I think license is a correct contract term for this. So they reference it as easement. I think that needs to get corrected. I don't really understand why this is a big blanket easement. It goes way further north of the sanitary sewer and water lines. Why didn't they? And why do the sanitary sewer and water lines go through the middle there and not on the south side? Where the, electric and, I gotta put my glasses back on, gas and electric, I guess, are running. And also on the last license figure we had, they indicated where tree locations were and, removing mature trees to put the sanitary sewer line and the water line. I don't, the trees aren't on this figure now, all of a sudden. And I'm sure it was just a different layer that was turned off or something, but preserving mature trees to put in utilities across a public boardwalk to me is, if they can move them further south and avoid the drip line of the tree to preserve trees, then I would be in favor of that. So I guess until those, I'm just going to be voting no until we get further information on that.
And someone clarify on this, I guess, I don't know how, the way the packet came across, I have a hard time getting any larger than what I have displayed now. The easement going directly across this yellow portion, is that it? Or is that an easement there? Or
That's what's being proposed. Well,
okay,
it says
so-
it's an easement, but it's supposed to
okay,
be a
so
licensed
that's the
area.
water and, okay, thank you.
Oh, can you help? Thanks,
Yeah,
Lucas.
thanks for the help.
Yeah. You do have to kind of zoom in sometimes.
Sanitary sewer and water there,
Mhm.
okay. And so what you're saying, Kelly, is you're wondering why it didn't go down on the lower part of that yellow diagram then?
Correct.
Okay.
So is calling it an easement instead of a license on the Naderveld schematic here, is that legally binding at all to
We
call it?
we can change that. So
Okay.
we can clean that up. So we had met with the contractor last week and he asked if we could review it with the Parks Commission. We told him we would make the request. So I think it's, and I wouldn't necessarily propose to speak for them, but my assumption is where they have the sanitary sewer and water laid out is just less expensive because it's almost a straight shot to the front of the house. So the existing house is where number 13, kind of where it is right now. There are no trees in that area right now. They did take down, I went out there yesterday, they did take down, there was a twin maple that's been cut down. So we'll need to follow back up with the contractor on that.
Okay.
So do a portion of these lines exist then to the existing house?
So the house would be in the triangle to the right of the yellow area. And they're just moving it across that. It's a paper road or right of way that we own.
Is there an urgency on this to the contractor?
I think the contractor, because he's working with Eagle, the township, and then I think there's 2 townships involved because one actually runs the utilities and then the other's the local jurisdiction. And then us, trying to authorize these things. So it's a pretty complicated project. And I think he's just run into a number of complications because of that. So that's why we actually asked him to come in and meet with us and review it.
So there is an urgency to try to get it done, or are they being delayed because of other issues? as
No, I
well?
think that there is. He did ask us. It's been delayed, I think, just because of the complications of the project. So
Do other complications continue, or is ours the only complication now?
I think they have to get the building permit. So they've had several things that have delayed that.
So yeah, we don't know his exact situation, but yes, the township needs assurance that this lot can be served by utilities before they will issue a building permit. So yes, and
We're one of the layers.
yeah, well,
Layers of approval.
right. So he thought he had it when we approved the drive and parking area. But then he's found out, oh, no, they won't let me tie into these utilities until there is something that shows that I have the right to have utilities here.
I guess too, like when we approved the driveway and the parking pad, it was like an outline of the parking pad and the driveway. And, so it's like, yeah, you can put this here in this location. And then this is just like a big block. It's not a corridor for utilities or anything. It's a big, fairly, it's a big square and it says easement. And I get it, just to get back to your license agreements are typically for a parcel of, like, you can use this land for this purpose, but easements are a little more broad. I mean, I know it's defined in the legal easements or the licensed area agreement, but and maybe it's nitpicking, but it's still kind of infers different rights.
Well, I
by
guess that was
using
my,
different terms.
I guess that was my question. If the license verbiage makes it clear that it's a license and not an easement, and the drawing says easement, isn't the license, the signed license agreement, that's the legally binding document, correct? So.
And we can, I think we can fix that. I think
Yeah.
that part is, we could
I
fix
mean,
that
does
before
that-
it moved on to the Board of Commissioners. I think the question
If
about.
it gets fixed,
Yeah,
then I'm fine with
that's-
it.
I think you
but-
can approve it with condition.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
that
can we
be
use a
changed.
different
Change your-
proposed motion?
Motion to make an amendment
Sure.
to fix.
Well, and there's, and if it's just that, the text, that's why that substantially similar is in
Mhm.
there in the motion, allows that,
Mhm.
those types of edits without having to come back. So,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah. I guess, do you guys know why their proposed licensed area goes so far north of the proposed sanitary sewer line compared to the south side? I mean, I'm just curious why.
and Kurt and I, and the assumption is because that would be it's a direct route, so it's likely the least expensive, so. It's a
Yeah,
relatively.
but I'm talking about
right.
between the north boundary and like the sanitary sewer line.
Right. Well, the whole thing's only 30 feet.
It looks
so
bigger on this exhibit.
It's
Probably
really
looks-
not,
I know it's only
29
30 feet, but
yeah.
yeah.
So it's not, it's not a huge area.
Well, I'm willing to amend my motion to include, pending or contingent upon changing the verbiage on the Naderveld, whatever you would call the schematic,
Alright.
to reference a license instead of an easement.
I support that.
Okay.
Okay. And then we could follow up with them on maybe tree removal.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Well, and that's what we just, right, with the timing, so that will be something that will have to be addressed, so.
Okay. Okay, great. Further comments? Sorry, I didn't mean to manipulate that, but do you have anyone else have comments,
points.
edits?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right.
All right, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote then on the amended motion. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. Amended motion carries. Great. All right, that is the end of our agenda. So we have one final public comment period, but I don't see anyone unless Josh, you want to make any public comments? All right. All right, just a reminder for anyone who is online, or I know we're having some technical difficulties at the beginning, but if you have any comments for the Parks Commission, feel free to send an email to the Park Commission attention at the email address indicated in the description of the YouTube video, and we'll be sure to review that at our next meeting. All right, we'll go around the horn here with Commissioner's prerogative. We'll start down there with you, Paul. Anything?
Nope, nothing today.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bruce?
I don't have anything more.
Okay. Lucas?
Thing here. Thank you.
All right. Jane?
Not for me today.
All right. Me neither. Martin, you?
Enjoy the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, might as well.
It is good.
It is cold.
Great. Field, anything?
Nope.
All right. Joe?
Yeah, just make sure you can take the time to sign up for the
Oh, yeah.
Ottawa County Water Quality Forum. We opened up registration, excuse me, last week, and today we're pushing, I think we're pushing 200.
Oh, dang, already. Wow.
So we're expecting to have 350, 400 people there.
When is it?
March 21st.
Okay.
We'll send an email to everybody if you haven't seen it, but we ain't even pushed it out really that hard to the public, and we already got 200. So if we get 350 people there, Pinnacle Center,
Nice.
free. I got about 18 sponsors so far and counting. So it's gonna be a good event.
Good. That will be good.
I'm signed up.
You signed, I saw your name on
Yeah,
there.
I'm signed up too.
It is free lunch, continental breakfast, and maybe a little something afterwards for happy hour.
Nice.
What day of the week is it?
That's on a Friday.
Okay.
Starts at 8:30 till 3.
They are always really good presentations, so
Mhm.
really informative.
Last year was really good. We had 215 for people who were there last year, and I'm pretty excited to get 350, 400 people there this year. It's
Absolutely.
gonna be a good event.
Nice job, Joe.
Is that the first day?
Nice job to you.
Is that the first day of spring?
It might
March
be.
21?
Is it? Maybe that's why I had it on that Friday. If it's not flooding by then, we're in good shape.
Extra celebration.
All right.
Thursday. Thursday's the first.
Oh, Thursday is,
Ah.
okay.
The day after, close.
Nice.
But please sign up.
Good deal. Good deal. All right. Upcoming meeting date, March 19th, is our March commission meeting. Just a reminder, check your emails if you have any comments on, remember, meeting topics, presenters, or the bylaws, get those to me. Yeah, but otherwise, I think that's it. We do not have closed session today, so we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Thanks, Lucas.
Who wants to leave?
Yeah, I guess we're too fast here. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
See you, Joe.